Om Sri Paramatmane Namaha. Yesterday, we have discussed on the background of Gita and why Gita, being a notable, celebrated spiritual book, was actually emerged from a situation of battle. Unlike many other religious books over the world, most of the religious books come from the caves or from solitary forests or riverside, oceanside, because spiritual books are propounded on philosophy of life. We believe that there are two subjects which are so indispensable for mankind for leading a comfortable life, or we can say enlightened life within time, space and situation. One is philosophy, the other is science. One is philosophy, other is science. Philosophia, knowledge of love. So philosophy is darshan. In Sanskrit we call it darshan. What is darshan? Darshan is direct perception. Direct perception of truth. Direct perception of the reality of life. What is reality? They say that the reality, what we call reality, is a shadow of the reality. What we call reality is a shadow of the reality. Sometimes it can be said it is the shadow of the shadow. Shadow of the shadow. Sometimes you might have seen a shadow has another shadow. So, you may ask how it is. Like cosmic consciousness, the postulation of the whole existence, cosmic consciousness, is the reality. And our life, our senses, are the shadow of the reality. And that too, for instance, I give you an example. If somebody takes an apple, so he takes the apple, and what does he take? He only has the apple touched with his tongue. He taste, and then it goes back to the stomach. But the amount is still the same in the stomach. Amount is the same. Like I am enjoying this cloth. If you weigh the cloth before I used it and after I use it, almost same. But I have used it. So what I have used? Only a touch. So it is the shadow of the cloth. Touch is the shadow of the cloth. And the cloth is the shadow of the supreme reality, because it will be destroyed. It will be lost. It will change. It will pass through wear and tear. So, cloth being the shadow of the cosmic consciousness, and you enjoyed it, and your enjoyment is shadow of the shadows. So mostly in this world we have the shadow of the shadows, the reality. So Gita is spoken in the battlefield, as we have discussed. The life is the battle, and Mahabharata is a symbol, a symbolic, a graphic and symbolic statement of the struggle that has commenced from the very beginning of human life. From the very beginning. That's why we said that the Gita, being spoken thousands of years ago, at least 5,000 years ago, even now is applicable, and it will remain as applicable as it is now after few thousand years after. Because there is a rigorous law in nature. Everything else, like if you say that the mango was once upon a time, and maybe in Treta Yuga and Sapta Yuga, the mangoes were bitter, and by the time of evolution of time, the mangoes have become sweet. We don't believe that. Huh? Like human beings in the beginning, they would be walking on toes, but in the course of time, now they will be flying sometimes. So this seems to be little utopian, little chimerical. So basic thing is that from the very beginning, the creation has certain status, certain standard laws, is being regulated by certain standard laws, and nature is following that. The sun is giving the same light as it has been giving for millennia before, So, human problems, ever since the human being came in existence, may not have so much of flowery and superficial outward development. They would be living maybe not like the modern buildings, they would be living in caves or in the hollow of trees or in the thatched houses, whatever. But our philosophy, as I said, philosophy is concerned to human nature. It has nothing to do with your outer world. It's a human nature. So nature is the same. It constitutes with certain propensities, certain inclinations, and those inclinations, and also the feeling of relationship with each other. Because nobody can exist all alone. Because human heart is such an element that it needs friends, relations, interactions, working together, surviving together. It is natural. It's not man created, it is nature created. It's nature created. You see, the animals also live the same thing. They have their communications, they have their language, they have their friendliness, they have their integrity, they have their activities. All these that together you can see ants work together, bees work together, elephants work together, monkeys work together. So this society. So struggle is the keynote of existence. Struggle is the keynote of existence. But struggle doesn't mean always sanguinary struggle, always fighting, killing people. No. Struggle means you fundamentally, or I can say basically, you fight against your evil nature, your dull nature, your nature which doesn't help you to go ahead. So you have to struggle against yourself. The first is struggle against yourself. Anybody in this world has risen. He has done this by struggling against himself first of all. Because we have so many weaknesses, from tama, from dullness, from the lower nature, from the animal nature. And those weaknesses sometimes are inert and sometimes dynamic. Sometimes jealousy, anger, aggressiveness, attacking others, ferocious nature, even in human beings. The greatest ferocious nature we find in the human beings. Animals are not as ferocious as human beings sometimes, because human beings destroy innocent people, destroy sleeping people, bombard on people who are not, who are living in peace, so on and so forth. So, you need to fight out firstly your animal nature, your inert nature, like laziness. You are a good person but you are lazy. The laziness is an animal, so that has to be fought out. Then you are a nice person but you get angry at times. That has to be fought out. You are too much passionate. That has to be controlled. So, whole thing is to control your mind, control your soul, so that you can give it a right channel. So this knowledge of mind, starting from the mind, starting from the senses, and then coming to the vital forces, and then mind, and then intelligence, and going towards the supreme goal of self-realization, is a journey, is a long journey, is a long process. And the account of this process, like in 13th century, Marco Polo has written. He came with his uncle, Niccolo Polo, to China, and he worked for Kublai Khan, and then he went back again to Europe, and he wrote an account. That's the first European account called Travels of Marco Polo. It is very interesting. If you have opportunity, you can read that. It's a philosophy is the same thing. We travel towards the supreme awareness, travel towards the supreme realization. So this travel, those who have traveled, they have left this account. Like the scientists, they have gone through different situations and discovered things, even at times risking their life. So in order to have our soul developed, in order to have our mind developed, in order to understand why we are here in this world, what is the supreme purpose nature is willing to serve through us, you need to have knowledge of philosophy. That is philosophy. That is philosophy. You must have knowledge. And what is science? Science is a technique to adjust within time and space and person. Constantly there is a pressure upon us of time and space, time and space, time and space. The pressure of the space where you are living in, and the pressure of the time, the awareness of the time passing. Time passing. Every day you are very much calculating about your time. So this pressure of time and space, the pressure of space also means the distance. So the science is helping you to lead a life transcending. I don't say transcending, because transcendence is not so easy, but adjusting in time and space. You can talk with your friend very fast, from afar, and you can go to a distant place very fast. You can cook your food, minimizing your time. You can send your message, transcending space. So time and space, constantly. That is working on human being, and for long people have been thinking on this. That how to adjust here, how to make life more comfortable, make easier, security. Life should be secure, because sometimes space also gives trouble. There can be animals around, there can be fearful thing around, and you try to protect yourself. This for self-protection in this world, in this mortal world, to protect your physical existence. Science is very helpful. But this phenomenal science, this material science alone is not capable to protect your soul, to protect your mind. They protect the destruction of the mind. You might be in all sorts of comforts, all sorts of securities, having all sorts of guards around you. But if your mind is not in right track, that is the biggest trouble, my dear. That is the biggest trouble. The greatest trouble comes from spirituality, lack of spiritual knowledge. And spiritual knowledge is to have the mind regulated and controlled and according to you. Most of the people don't have their mind according to them. The mind flies around and they don't know how to bring it to use. They read a book, maybe reading, their eyes are fixed on the book, but their mind is somewhere else. They're doing something, their mind is somewhere else. Most people have this problem. But the yogi says that this is one of the biggest problem and one has to fight it out. So, philosophical knowledge, practical philosophy and theological part of it, both. The Hindus, from the ancient time, have come to conclusion that to be happy in this world, in this mortal world, the life of few days or few years, you can say only a short period of time in comparison to the vast space of time, the first thing that one should have is unregulated mind regulated, and come in touch with the consciousness which is tranquil, which is quiet, like an ocean without ruffling. Ocean without ruffle. Infinite amount of treasure, wealth is there inside the ocean, but it has no ruffle. So that same treasure of joy, treasure of knowledge, treasure of awareness, treasure of the supreme purpose, the goal. If you are aware, to be aware, then mind is your greatest obstacle and the mind has to be regulated. So philosophy is a science. Spirituality is a science. It is a spiritual science. And science is a philosophy. you can say. It's like drawing, painting is a kind of poetry. The poetry with the verse, and this is poetry with pens and drawings and color, So it is the poetry by color, and this is the painting by words and by verses. So they are similar type. The philosophy is the science of within, life within, inner life, inner science, and science is the philosophy of life. How to lead a life. How to lead a life. The more you have knowledge about the phenomenal world, your life is better, including bacteria, including germs, virus, all sorts of things. You know it better in the modern time, that how you can protect yourself by keeping yourself away from all sorts of virus, bad things. So mind also has a lot of virus. It attacks. Mind is being attacked by many virus, terrible virus. Sometimes you can ward it off, and no medicine for it. No medicine for it. The only medicine is yoga, meditation. So Gita is a science of yoga. The science of yoga. Yoga is the most important thing for a human being to accomplish through his way of life, through his right way of life. It is not concerned whether you belonging to any community, any nation, any community, any part of the world. Nothing. It's Sarvabhaum. Sarvabhaum means universal. So Gita is an universal literature. It is an universal literature. It has nothing to do with any community or any religion or anything. It is for human beings, for all human beings. So we yesterday discussed the first verse of the first chapter, that Dhritarashtra, the king, the blind king, asked Sanjaya, a person with inner vision, clairvoyance, that my children, that is the Kauravas, and Pandu's children, his brother's children, that is Pandavas, they have assembled in a battlefield called Kurukshetra. What are they doing at this moment? And this Kurukshetra is also said as Dharmakshetra, which already explained before why it is called Dharmakshetra and Kurukshetra at once. That was explained earlier. And now we go further. The Sanjay continued, and these verses in the first chapter of the Gita are more the introduction and the names of the warriors of both the teams, their names, only names, ancient, difficult pronunciation and names. So I want to avoid the names. And then slowly we are coming to a verse, will come. I explain it in a nutshell, that before the war started, in those days, war had certain regulations. There are certain regulations. Like the warriors are not supposed to kill innocent people. Innocent villagers or anybody, no. Those who are not fighting, they are not supposed to kill them. And secondly, the rule was that the war must start with an understanding between the leaders of the groups, two groups. It's like a football game, match, when to start, understanding between two groups. And after the time is over, in the evening when the time is over for battle, when they're quiet, then nobody will kill nobody. Enmity doesn't remain. It's like a game. You can eat together, talk together. And that was the situation. So Arjun, being a leader of the battle, leader of the Pandav groups, the biggest leader, he said to Krishna, and Krishna is respected by both the groups. Krishna as his personality is so dominating, so impressive, because it is a conglomeration of so many qualities, so many attributes. He was a warrior, he was a wisdom, he was a philosopher, He was a yogi, Yogeshwar.